Ever feel like the entire universe is conspiring against you? Like every door you knock on slams shut? Like every hand you reach for pulls away? Like forces you can't even see are working to keep you down? So what do you do when it is not just one obstacle but the whole world that seems designed to break you? I am about to share Machiavelli's ultimate strategy for when everything is against you. Not his advice for normal times, not his wisdom for minor setbacks, his blueprint for surviving and thriving when the world itself has become your enemy. The strategy that has kept people alive and rising when all logic said they should fall. Your family doesn't believe in you. Your friends have turned skeptical. Your industry has closed ranks against you. Your reputation has been poisoned. Your resources have dried up. Your support has vanished. Every direction you turn, there is another wall, another enemy, another reason to give up. You know what that actually is? The exact situation Machiavelli wrote his masterwork to address. But here is what is going to change everything. Machiavelli wasn't writing for people having a bad week. He was writing for people whose survival was genuinely at stake. People surrounded by enemies, people with no good options, people who had to win or die. And his strategies for those impossible situations still work 500 years later. What if I told you that being against the world isn't a death sentence but a filter? That the opposition you are facing has destroyed countless others and made the survivors legendary? That there is a specific mindset and strategy set that turns impossible odds into unlikely victories? By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to survive when you are surrounded, how to find advantage when there seems to be none, and most importantly, how to emerge from the fire that was meant to destroy you stronger than you entered it. Are you ready to learn the strategy of last resort? Drop this affirmation in the comments. I survived the impossible. Strategy 1. Accept the reality completely. The first and most crucial step when the world turns against you is to stop denying it. Stop hoping it is not as bad as it seems. Stop looking for silver linings that don't exist. Stop pretending tomorrow will magically be different. Accept the full weight of your situation. Most people fail in desperate situations not because they lack resources, but because they lack clarity. They're so busy hoping things aren't that bad that they fail to respond to how bad things actually are. Their denial becomes the delay that destroys them. They die hoping instead of fighting. Machiavelli wrote, "How one lives is so far distant from how one ought to live, that he who neglects what is done for what ought to be done sooner affects his ruin than his preservation." When you are surrounded, you cannot afford to focus on how things should be. You must focus completely on how things are. Here is what complete acceptance looks like. Make a list of everyone against you. Not who might be against you, who actually is. Make a list of every resource you've lost. Not what might come back, what is actually gone. Make a list of every door that is closed, not temporarily paused, actually closed. This isn't pessimism, it is reconnaissance. You can't fight what you won't see. The power of complete acceptance is that it ends the exhausting work of denial. You stop spending energy convincing yourself things are better than they are. That energy becomes available for actual strategy. The mind clears when illusions die, and clarity is the first weapon of survival. There is also a paradoxical peace in complete acceptance. When you stop fighting reality, you can start working with it. When you accept the worst, you fear it less. When you see the full scope of what you are facing, you can finally begin to address it strategically rather than emotionally. Here is something most people don't understand about denial. It doesn't just cost you clarity, it costs you time. Every moment spent hoping things aren't as bad as they are is a moment not spent adapting to how bad they actually are. In survival situations, this time cost can be fatal. The warriors who survive understand this instinctively. When the situation shifts against them, they don't waste time wishing it hadn't. They immediately begin calculating their new options. They accept and adapt in the same breath. This speed of acceptance is often the difference between survival and destruction. Accept completely. Deny nothing. See everything. Only then can you begin to fight effectively. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I see my reality clearly. Strategy 2. Identify and protect what cannot be lost. When everything is under attack, you cannot defend everything. Trying to protect all fronts means protecting none effectively. You must identify what absolutely cannot be lost and concentrate your limited resources there. Everything else must be sacrificed if necessary. What cannot be lost varies by situation. Sometimes it is your health, without which no recovery is possible. Sometimes it is a key relationship that serves as your foundation. Sometimes it is a specific skill or reputation that everything else depends on. Sometimes it is simply your sanity and will to continue. Identify it. Then protect it above all else. Machiavelli understood strategic sacrifice, he wrote. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. In survival situations, never attempt to hold everything when holding the core is what matters. Strategic retreat isn't failure. It is concentration of force on what cannot be lost. Here is how to apply this. Ask yourself, if I could only protect one thing, what would it be? That is your core. Then ask, what must I maintain to have any chance of recovery? Those are your essential resources. Everything else, no matter how much it hurts to lose, is negotiable when survival is at stake. This might mean letting go of pride to protect income, letting go of some relationships to protect the essential ones, letting go of comfort to protect survival, letting go of the life you plan to protect the life that remains possible. The ruthlessness of this triage is what makes survival possible. Many people lose everything because they tried to save everything. Their resources spread too thin. They couldn't protect what mattered most. The survivor concentrates force. The perisher disperses it. When the world is against you, you cannot afford to disperse anything. There is an emotional component to this that you must master. You will grieve what you let go. You will feel the loss of what you sacrifice. This grief is real and valid, but you cannot let it paralyze you. Grieve while moving. Feel the loss while protecting what remains. Emotion and strategy must coexist in survival mode. Some things you thought were essential will turn out to be sacrificable. Some things you thought you could sacrifice will turn out to be essential. Stay flexible. Reassess constantly. The list of what must be protected may change as the situation evolves. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I protect what cannot be lost. Strategy 3. Find the cracks in the opposition. Here is what people in desperate situations often miss. The forces against them are not monolithic. They're not a unified wall with no gaps. They're a collection of different actors with different motivations, different interests, and different weaknesses. Finding and exploiting these cracks is how the outnumbered survive. Your enemies have enemies. Some of those enemies might become your friends. Your opponents have interests that conflict with each other. Some of those conflicts can be exploited. The coalition against you is held together by something. Understanding what can help you find what might pull it apart. Machiavelli was a master at identifying and exploiting divisions, he wrote. Whoever desires to found a state and give it laws must start with assuming that all men are bad and ever ready to display their vicious nature. This cynical view serves the surrounded well. Your opponents aren't angels united by pure purpose. They're self-interested actors who can be divided. Here is how to find the cracks. Ask who benefits least from the coalition against you. They're the weakest link, who has competing interests with other members of the opposition. They might be turned, who is only against you because of social pressure rather than genuine grievance. They might be neutralized with private outreach. Sometimes the crack isn't in the opposition, but beside it. Who is watching this situation? Who might benefit from helping you? Who has been harmed by the same forces attacking you? Who might see your survival as serving their interests? Potential allies often exist where you haven't looked. The surrounded feel alone but rarely are. The opposition wants you to feel alone because isolation is weakness. But somewhere, someone benefits from your survival. Somewhere, someone shares your enemies. Somewhere, a crack exists that can be widened. Find it, exploit it. Survive through the gap they didn't protect. The world being against you doesn't mean every part of the world is equally against you. Some parts are weakly against you. Some are conflicted. Some are persuadable. Some are actually potentially for you but haven't realized it yet. Find these. They're your path out. Here is a practical technique. For each person or entity in the coalition against you, rate their hostility from 1 to 10. Then rate their importance to that coalition from 1 to 10. Now you have a map. Attack the important, but not fully committed nodes. Ignore or neutralize the unimportant, but hostile ones. Sometimes the crack isn't a person but a circumstance. Budget cycles that reduce resources for your opposition, competing priorities that draw their attention elsewhere, external events that change the political landscape. Watch for these windows and be ready to move when they open. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I find cracks in every wall. Strategy 4. Become impossible to finish off. When you can't win, the goal becomes not losing. And not losing means becoming the kind of opponent that is too costly to completely destroy. You make finishing you off so expensive that your enemies settle for something less than your total destruction. This is the strategy of the cornered animal, the guerrilla fighter, the startup facing giants. You can't win the direct confrontation, but you can make the direct confrontation so expensive that the larger force decides you are not worth the full cost of destruction. Machiavelli wrote, "Men must either be caressed or annihilated. They will revenge themselves for small injuries, but cannot do so for great ones." The strategic implication is that if you are being attacked, don't be merely injured. Be difficult enough to annihilate that they settle for caressing instead. Make total victory over you too expensive to pursue. Here is how to become impossible to finish. First, survive every attack. Don't let any single blow be fatal. Spread your vulnerabilities so no single strike can end you. Have backup plans for your backup plans. The more attacks you survive, the more expensive attacking you becomes. Second, impose costs on your attackers. Every attack on you should cost them something. Time, resources, reputation, energy, political capital. The more it costs to attack you, the sooner they'll decide you are not worth the expense. You don't have to win. You just have to be expensive. Third, demonstrate your capacity for recovery. When they knock you down and you get back up, that sends a message. You can keep attacking, but I'll keep recovering. Is this really how you want to spend your resources? The displayed ability to recover discourages continued attack. Fourth, show that destroying you has unintended consequences. If people depend on you, your destruction harms them too. If you have information or capabilities that would be lost, make that clear. If your fall would create problems your enemies don't want, make sure they know. Sometimes survival comes from being too useful to destroy. The goal isn't to win against overwhelming odds. The goal is to survive until the odds change, until your enemies tire, until circumstances shift, until new allies emerge, until you've grown strong enough to win, become impossible to finish, and you buy time. Time is the resource that creates all other resources. There is a psychological dimension to this as well. Your enemies need to believe finishing you off isn't worth the continued effort. This belief is created by consistent demonstration of resilience plus consistent cost imposition. Each time they attack and you survive while they pay a cost, their calculation shifts. Don't make it easy for them by collapsing when you could survive. Don't make it cheap for them by absorbing attacks that could be returned. Every additional attack you survive and every cost you impose adds to the accumulated argument against finishing you off. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am impossible to destroy. Strategy 5. Use time as your weapon. When you are surrounded, time often works in your favor, even when nothing else does. Your enemies have other priorities. Their coalition is held together by temporary alignment. Their attention span is limited. If you can outlast their focus, you can outlast their attack. The coalition against you will not stay perfectly aligned forever. People move on. Priorities shift. The anger that motivated the attack fades. New targets emerge. If you can survive the initial assault and maintain yourself through the siege often lifts on its own. Machiavelli observed, "The wish to acquire is in truth very natural and common, and men always do so when they can." Your enemies wish to acquire things other than your destruction. Given time, those other wishes will compete for their resources and attention. Your survival strategy is partly just lasting until their focus fractures. Here is how to use time strategically. First, slow down any process that is moving against you. Every delay is time bought. Every postponement is survival extended. Procedure, negotiation, appeals, requests for review. Anything that slows the machinery working against you serves your interests. Second, use the time you are buying to build strength. Every day you survive is a day you can use to improve your position, develop skills, build new relationships, accumulate resources, get stronger while they assume you are just weakening. Let time work for your growth while it works for their distraction. Third, watch for the moment circumstances shift. Nothing stays the same forever. Political situations change. Economic conditions shift. New players enter. Old players exit. The same environment that was hostile can become neutral or even favorable. Your job is to still be standing when that shift occurs. Fourth, maintain your ability to act quickly when opportunity comes. While you are waiting and building, stay ready. The moment the situation shifts in your favor, you need to be able to move decisively. Patient doesn't mean passive. It means coiled, waiting, ready. Time destroys more coalitions than direct assault ever could. Time fades more hostility than argument. Time opens more doors than force. When you can't win now, make surviving now your victory, and let time fight the battles you cannot. There is a discipline required for this strategy. You'll be tempted to force resolution, to end the uncertainty, to know the outcome. This impatience is your enemy, the uncertain middle, the not knowing, the extended struggle. This is often where survival lives. Embrace the ambiguity. Use waiting actively, not passively. Every day of survival is a day to prepare, to grow, to position. The person who just waits emerges unchanged. The person who waits while building emerges stronger. Make sure you are the second kind. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Time is my weapon. Strategy 6. Transform through the crucible. Here is the final, and perhaps most powerful strategy. Use the very opposition that is trying to destroy you as the forge that makes you stronger. Let the fire that was meant to consume you be the fire that refines you. Emerge from the crisis as something greater than you entered it. Every attack reveals a weakness. That is information for improvement. Every closed door shows where you were dependent. That is motivation for independence. Every betrayal shows who was never really loyal. That is clarity you needed. Every hardship builds capacity you lacked. That is strength you are gaining. Machiavelli wrote, "There is no avoiding war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others." The corollary for personal survival is that hardship cannot be avoided, only transformed into advantage. You are going through this regardless. The question is whether you'll just survive it or use it. Here is how to transform through the crucible. First, ask what this experience is teaching you. Not what you wish it was teaching, what it actually is. The lessons might be hard. They might contradict what you wanted to believe. But they're the lessons you need. Second, identify the weaknesses this crisis has exposed. These weaknesses existed before. The crisis just revealed them. Now you can address them. The person who emerges from this having fixed their weaknesses is more formidable than the person who entered. Third, develop the capabilities you lacked. What skills would have prevented this? What knowledge would have prepared you? What resources would have protected you? Acquire them now. The crisis is showing you exactly what you need. Don't waste the education. Fourth, let your character be forged. The person who has faced everything and survived is different from the person who has never been tested. That difference is called depth. That depth is called wisdom. That wisdom commands respect that the untested can never claim. The people who've been through hell and emerged are different from everyone else. They've been tested in ways others haven't. They've survived what would have broken most. They've proven something about themselves that can never be unproven. This is what the crucible offers if you let it. Your enemies think they're destroying you. They might actually be creating you. The version of you that emerges from this, if you use it properly, will be more formidable than anything they're attacking. They're forging their own future opponent while thinking they're eliminating a threat. Use their fire. There is a mental shift required to use the crucible rather than just survive it. You must see every hardship as curriculum rather than just punishment. What is this teaching me? Becomes the question that transforms suffering into education. The answer always exists if you look honestly. Keep a record of what you are learning. Write down the insights. Document the growth. When you emerge from this, you'll have a manual for surviving that you didn't have going in. That manual is part of your transformation. It is knowledge that can never be taken from you. The person who emerges from the crucible transformed becomes something rare in this world. Someone who has been tested. Someone who has proven themselves. Someone whose depth was forged in fire. This transformation is available to you if you choose it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. The fire forges me stronger. If you've made it this far, you now have Machiavelli's ultimate strategy for when everything is against you. Accept reality completely. Protect what cannot be lost. Find cracks in the opposition. Become impossible to finish. Use time as your weapon. Transform through the crucible. These strategies have been used by survivors throughout history, by leaders who came back from exile, by entrepreneurs who rose from bankruptcy, by individuals who rebuilt after total loss, by anyone who faced impossible odds and emerged not just alive but stronger. Machiavelli wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." Your title right now might be victim, target, outcast, or failure. But how you handle this situation will determine whether that title defines you or becomes the origin story of your eventual triumph. The world being against you is not a death sentence. It is a filter, a forge, a test that most will fail and some will pass. The strategies you now have are the strategies of those who pass. Use them. If this video gave you the strategy to survive when everything is against you, smash that like button. If you know someone in the fight of their life who needs these strategies, share this with them. And if you want more content on surviving and thriving against the odds, subscribe and hit that notification bell. The situation you are in may be the hardest you've ever faced. The opposition may be the strongest you've ever encountered. The odds may be the worst you've ever seen. Good. This is where legends are separated from everyone else. This is where the story gets good. The world is against you. So what? The world has been against countless others who found a way through. You have their strategies now. You have their mindset now. You have everything you need to survive what is trying to destroy you and emerge as something they never expected. Now drop this final affirmation in the comments. I survive and become stronger. Because in a world where most people crumble when opposition comes, the person who knows how to survive anything holds all the power. Be that person. Master these strategies, and watch how everything changes when you become someone the world cannot break, no matter how hard it tries.